And one more time. This one's the presidential succession and a whole bunch of stuff you need, so let's get going. What happens if the president dies in office? Or what happens if the president is injured? We're going to find out. If the president dies in office, according to the Presidential Succession Law of 1947, the vice president assumes the presidency. So Harry Truman moved up when FDR died. LBJ, here we see him being signed in on Air Force One at Love Field in Dallas in 1963 when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And then Gerald Ford became president when Nixon was impeached. Or was not impeached, but resigned. So it also applies if the president doesn't die but resigns. What if the vice president dies? Also, then the Speaker of the House moves up. What if the Speaker of the House, the vice president, and the president die? Like on the TV show Designated Survivor, then, well, there is the designated survivor, but in this case, the president pro tem of the Senate would move up, and then members of the cabinet. But notice down here at the State of the Union address every year, one cabinet member is chosen as the designated survivor to stay behind at the White House, just in case. What happens if a president is alive but unable to do his job? In this picture, this is when Reagan was shot and he had to go into surgery. So that's when the 25th Amendment kicks in. If the president is incapacitated, the president must notify Congress and the vice president becomes acting president until the president can resume authority. If the president is incapable of notifying Congress, then the vice president and the majority of the cabinet notify Congress and the vice president becomes acting president. All right, now this is something sort of random, but you need to know it. The two presidencies. It's a theory. It's been written about by political scientists, and it basically says that the U.S. has one president but two presidencies. Well, what does that mean? That means that the president focuses on domestic affairs, but also on foreign affairs. So where is the president maybe more effective or more successful? That would be in foreign policy. Why? It's difficult to get congressional support for domestic policy, but the president can almost always get support for policies he believes will protect the nation. Another rather random piece of information is Neustat's theory of presidential influence. And you've heard this one before. Presidents must have the capability and desire for power, but they cannot command, they must persuade. So they're talking about the power of persuasion. His authority or her authority and status give him or her an advantage when dealing with Congress. And as far as persuading, the president must be able to get Congress to see what he wants is also in their best interest. Another PS on this is in Federalist 70. Hamilton said the government needs a strong, energetic executive. So energy in the executive is also important. Now we have presidential paradoxes. Americans demand a powerful, popular presidential leadership that solves the nation's problems, but we are inherently suspicious of strong, centralized leadership and the abuse of power. So what we want, we're also suspicious of. We want a democratic common person, but we also want a leader who is uncommon, charismatic, heroic, and visionary. We want someone who's above politics, nonpartisan approach. But the presidency requires a master politician. Remember, the framers wanted a president with limited authority and responsibility to avoid tyranny. They did not like a concentration of power. The end. Off we go to one more.